Have you ever wondered what it feels like to hold your breath for so long that your heart forgets how to beat normally, not from fear, but from something far more terrifying the moment you realize your entire understanding of the universe was smaller than you ever imagined? That's exactly where I found myself 3 months ago. In the cargo bay of Outpost 17, my hands covered in coolant gel and circuit grease, working blindfolded on the most advanced piece of armor I had ever touched, belonging to someone I had never seen. My name is Marcus Webb, and I've been a repair technician on this forgotten station at the edge of Coalition space for almost 4 years. Nothing exciting happens here. Ships dock for fuel, traders exchange supplies, and occasionally some smuggler needs a hull patch done quietly. I fix things. Engines, life support systems, navigation arrays if it's broken and mechanical. I can probably make it work again. But never in my wildest dreams did I expect to repair alien armor while a voice behind me gave instructions in a language that somehow translated directly into my mind. It started on a Tuesday, at least I think it was a Tuesday, because time loses meaning when you're this far from any sun when the proximity alarm screamed through the station. I nearly dropped my coffee mug, which would have been a tragedy, since real coffee is worth more than plasma conduits out here. The display showed an unregistered vessel approaching, small, barely larger than a standard escape pod, but its energy signature was unlike anything in our database. I watched from the observation deck as it limped toward the docking port, trailing sparks and venting atmosphere. Whoever was piloting that thing was either incredibly skilled or incredibly desperate, and judging by the damage, I was betting on both. Station Commander Riley gave me the assignment because nobody else wanted it. Investigate the vessel, assess the occupant, report back. Simple enough, right? Wrong, dead wrong. The airlock hissed open, and I stepped into the small ship, expecting to find a wounded pilot, maybe a criminal on the run, possibly a refugee from one of the outer colonies. Instead, I found myself staring at a figure slumped against the far wall, encased in armor that seemed to drink the light around it. The design was sleek, elegant, covered in patterns that shifted and moved like living things. And the helmet, smooth, featureless, reflecting my confused expression back at me, gave no indication of what lay beneath. I approached slowly, hands raised, the universal gesture of "I'm not going to hurt you," though I had no idea if that translated across species. Then a voice filled my head, not through my ears, but directly into my thoughts, and I nearly tripped over my own feet. "You are the one who repairs?" The voice was feminine, melodic, carrying an accent I couldn't place because it wasn't sound at all. It was meaning, pure and direct. I nodded, realizing I must have looked ridiculous. "I can repair most things, yes. Are you injured?" There was a pause, and I sensed something like hesitation, maybe even fear. "My armor is damaged. The kinetic redistributors are offline. My life support has 3 hours remaining before cascade failure." She shifted, and I heard the grinding of broken components. "I cannot remove it without assistance. The neural links are compromised." Great. Alien technology I had never seen, connected to a nervous system I didn't understand, with a 3-hour countdown to death. "No pressure. I'll help you," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. "But I need to see what I'm working with." No, the word was absolute, carrying weight I couldn't ignore. "You cannot look upon me. It is forbidden for those outside my clan. Our faces are sacred. To show them creates a bond that cannot be broken. You would be tied to me, obligated by honor to answer any call I make for the rest of your existence." I let that sink in. A lifetime of obligation to someone I had never met, triggered just by seeing their face. "Okay," I said slowly. "Then how am I supposed to fix your armor if I can't look at you?" "You will work by touch. I will guide you through the neural pathways." She paused, and something in her mental voice softened. "I am sorry for asking this of you. I have no other choice. My pursuers will find me eventually, and I cannot flee again in this condition." Pursuers. Of course there were pursuers. Who's chasing you? That information would endanger you further. It is better you do not know. "Will you help me repair human Marcus Webb?" She knew my name. She had pulled it from my thoughts without asking. Normally that would have bothered me, but there was desperation in her voice that overrode my caution. "Yeah," I said, pulling a maintenance cloth from my belt and tying it around my eyes. "I'll help you." The next 6 hours were the strangest of my life. Working blind, I let her voice guide my hands across the impossibly smooth surface of her armor. She told me where to press, how to release hidden catches, which conduits carried power, and which carried information that apparently connected directly to her spine. The technology was centuries beyond anything I had worked with, but the principles were the same: energy flows, pressure differentials, load-bearing structures. Engineering is a universal language, even when your teacher is projecting instructions directly into your brain. Her name was Verith. I learned during the second hour, when my fingers were cramping and I needed a break. She belonged to a species called the Synthari, ancient travelers who had mapped the galaxy long before humans had discovered fire. Her people were scholars, warriors, diplomats, and right now, she was none of those things. She was a fugitive. I discovered something I should not have, she explained, and I sensed the weight of secrets behind those words. The council believes some knowledge is too dangerous to exist. I disagreed. So they sent hunters. Must have been some serious knowledge, I muttered, adjusting what she called a quantum stabilizer with fingers that were starting to go numb. It was. It still is. Another pause. You are kind, Marcus Webb. Your thoughts are honest, without hidden edges. My people would say you have a transparent soul. I laughed, the sound muffled by the cloth over my eyes. Pretty sure that's just because I'm not smart enough to lie convincingly. No, it is because you choose not to. There is a difference. Something in my chest tightened at her words, a warmth I couldn't explain. I kept working, focused on the task, trying not to think about the woman behind the armor, trying not to wonder what she looked like, trying not to let my imagination fill the darkness behind my blindfold. By hour 4, I had replaced 3 burned-out regulators with jury-rigged components from my own equipment. By hour 5, I had rerouted her life support through a backup system I fashioned from spare parts and sheer stubbornness. And by hour 6, when I finally reconnected the last neural pathway and heard her gasp with relief as full function returned, I realized I didn't want to stop hearing her voice in my head. It is done, Verith said, and I could hear something like wonder in her thoughts. You actually did it. You repaired technology you had never seen, without the ability to see. In a fraction of the time my own engineers would have required. I sat back on my heels, exhausted, keeping the blindfold firmly in place. Told you. I fix things. It's what I'm good at. It is far more than that. I heard her rise, the armor humming softly as it powered up fully. Footsteps approached, and suddenly I could feel her presence directly in front of me, close enough that the air seemed warmer. Marcus Webb, you have given me something precious tonight. You gave me time to run, time to fight, time to find others who believe as I do. I have nothing of equal value to offer in return. I shrugged, keeping my eyes covered. You don't owe me anything. Just try not to get caught. I cannot leave this dead and paid. It goes against everything my people hold sacred. There was movement, a soft click, and then I am removing my helmet. My heart stopped. Wait. No, you said if I saw you, yes, I would be tied to you. And you would be tied to me. Her voice was no longer just in my mind. It was spoken aloud, clear as a bell, carrying an accent that turned ordinary words into music. I choose this bond willingly, Marcus Webb. For the first time in my life, I choose. I felt her fingers on the cloth covering my eyes, gentle but certain. You saved my life while asking nothing in return. You worked in darkness because I requested it. You showed me trust when you had no reason to give it. This is the kind of person who deserves to know my face. This is the kind of person worth being bound to. She pulled the blindfold away. I blinked against the sudden light, my vision adjusting, and then I saw her. And everything I thought I knew about beauty, about wonder, about the universe itself, crumbled into dust and rebuilt itself in her image. She was stunning in ways I couldn't process. Hair like spun moonlight cascaded past her shoulders, platinum silver with hints of lavender that caught the light. Her skin carried a faint luminescence, as if starlight had been woven into her flesh. Her features were delicate, almost painfully beautiful high cheekbones, full lips curved in a hesitant smile, and eyes that held entire galaxies within them, deep violet with swirling patterns that seemed to move. And her ears, pointed and elegant, swept back through her hair, the only feature that marked her as something beyond human. But it was her expression that truly froze me in place. Vulnerability, hope, fear. The same emotions I had heard in her voice were written across her face. And suddenly the powerful warrior in the advanced armor became something far more relatable, a woman who had taken an enormous risk and was waiting to see if she had been wrong. Say something, she whispered, and for the first time, she looked uncertain. I opened my mouth. closed it, tried again. I struggled for words, for any words that could capture what I was seeing, what I was feeling. You're real, she laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes in summer. Of all the things you could have said, that is perhaps the most honest. Her smile widened slightly. Yes, Marcus, I am real. And now, so is the bond between us. I should have been terrified. I should have protested, demanded she take it back, insisted that I wasn't worthy of cosmic obligations. I didn't understand. Instead, I asked the only question that seemed to matter. What happens now? Varith reached out and touched my face, her fingers impossibly soft against my grease-stained cheek. Now you have a choice. You can continue your life here, repairing ships and engines, and I will never call upon our bond. I will carry the debt alone. Her eyes searched mine. Or you can come with me. Help me carry the knowledge I protect to those who can use it. Help me change the galaxy. That's not really a choice, I said, my voice hoarse. You're asking me to give up everything I know. No, she shook her head gently. I am asking you to discover everything you do not know yet. There is a universe of wonders waiting beyond this station, Marcus Webb. Civilizations that paint with light, beings who sing equations into existence, worlds where the oceans are alive with collective dreams. You fix things because you believe broken pieces can become whole again. Imagine applying that gift to entire star systems that have forgotten how to hope. It was insane. It was impossible. It was the single most terrifying invitation I had ever received. And as I looked into those violet eyes full of galaxies, I already knew my answer. 3 months later, I stand on the observation deck of a ship I never imagined existing, watching stars streak past at speeds that would have melted my brain to comprehend a year ago. Varith is beside me, her hand resting lightly against mine, a gesture of connection that means more in her culture than I fully understand. We have faced hunters twice since leaving the outpost, narrow escapes that left us both shaking with adrenaline and laughter. We have visited a library carved into the heart of a dying star, carried messages to rebel scholars hiding in the spaces between dimensions, and eaten breakfast on a planet where the sunrise lasts 3 days. The knowledge she protects, the truth she discovered that made her a fugitive, is slowly becoming clear to me. It is the location of something ancient, something her council fears because it represents a power that cannot be controlled, the original archive. A repository of every truth the Centauri have collected across 1,000,000 years, hidden away because those truths would shatter the careful lies that keep their empire stable. And somehow, impossibly, I have become part of the small group determined to find it and share its contents with the galaxy. I asked her once, during a quiet moment between jumps, why she really chose to bond with me. Why she removed her helmet for a human mechanic on a forgotten station when she could have simply flown away. She was silent for a long moment, her eyes distant, and then she said something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Because when you worked in darkness to save me, you hummed. You did not know you were doing it, a small, tuneless melody, repeating over and over as your hands moved. In my culture, we call that sound the breath of the honest heart. It appears only in those who work without expectation of reward, who give of themselves purely because giving is who they are. I knew then that I had found something rarer than any archive. She turned to look at me, and her smile was soft. I found someone worth trusting with my face. I still do not fully understand the Centauri, their rituals, their ancient obligations. I still stumble over concepts that Varith explains with patient amusement. And I still sometimes catch myself staring at her in wonder, struggling to believe that this is my life now, traveling the stars beside an alien warrior who carries the hopes of a galaxy in her determination. But every night, before we sleep in our separate quarters like the partners we are still learning to become, she presses her forehead to mine in a gesture her people call soul-touching. And in that moment, I feel the bond she created when she removed her helmet, a warmth that lives in my chest, a certainty that wherever we go, whatever dangers we face, we will face them together. The universe is vast and ancient and full of things that want to kill us. But right now, watching stars explode into light as we jump to our next destination, Varith's hand warm in mine, I realized that fixing her armor in darkness was not just a repair job. It was the first moment of the rest of my life, and I would not trade it for anything.